right. Okay, that's it. We're back. We doing this thing. Oh my goodness. How you feel?
I'm like, why does this feel brand new to me?
It feels absolutely
It feels brand new, but exciting.
We haven't been in here in, geez, how many months?
Like 8 months.
8 months. So season 1 had a rough start then. Not a rough start, a rough continuance, a rough season. But here we are, 2025, first episode.
Brand new, baby.
If you are joining us for the first time, please welcome to the No Degree Just Experience podcast. I am Charlie Giesler.
I'm Rocky Giesler.
And we are so excited to be filming this again, to be putting out another episode of our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Where do you want to start with what's been going on, what we've been doing, what's going to be going on this year? What do you want to start with?
Tell them the new vision. Like, I want to share the vision, what's been going on the past 8 months.
Should we recap the 8 months before we share vision? What do you think?
Yeah, let's recap the 8 months.
Okay, let's recap.
So let's rewind.
All right, hold on. Before anything else, I want to address the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. I got a haircut.
Yeah.
I got a haircut like in the fall. Like I got a haircut in like September, October.
Last year, yeah. I think it was August, actually.
Yes, but most people, I guess, who do not know that at all. So, yeah, my hair is much shorter. I'm a brand new person. Also, for those who are following the podcast last year, my face is very much back to normal. So
Yay!
Last year I had a little bout of Bell's palsy, which was kind of crazy. But same face, new hair. What's up with you?
Glasses, new glasses. Oh.
You are much more theologically savvy than last time.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things we wanted to talk about in this podcast is just like what our journey was from essentially like spring into summer was like the last episode we put out, and then just going into fall and then Christmas season and where we are now.
So we graduated from the Institute class, which is very theological based, understanding and learning how to study the Bible.
Which, by the way, I do want to say, like, that was more, we both started off in Institute class. And it's at the church where I work at and stuff. And so I was part of it. But then when I got Bell's palsy and I realized I was just doing too much, I actually ended up kind of dropping out of the student side of Institute class. And I kind of became media support. But then I would also like attend inside the class a bit too. But I wasn't like doing the homework and studying and stuff like you were. You were a much bigger participant than I was. I was lucky enough that I got to when you were doing homework, we'd have like a lot of good conversations and stuff, and you would tell me about what you were reading. And then coming from a non-denominational church and now being at a Presbyterian church, the teaching here, the theology and stuff is so good and like so rich and deep and like very Bible-based and really significant on what the context is of everything and really learning scripture. So what stuck out to you in Institute class?
How much I didn't know. So like you have your idea of like what the Bible is about and you have the general idea, right? But Institute really opened my eyes to like just the deeper knowledge of how to study the Bible. Like not just taking it as face value, but considering like the whole context, the whole canon.
How is that
and how it all like comes together.
How is that different than how you would read the Bible before?
I would Google verses. That would help my daily life. And it's funny because our instructor, she was joking around and she's like, we can do all things through a Googled verse.
Oh, no, she had that.
What did she say?
She had that coffee mug. It said, I can do all things through a verse taken out of context.
Exactly. That is literally exactly.
I'm sure that might trigger some people like in hearing that and stuff, but it was really insightful, like figuring out that the verses that we just kind of take for what it is, face value and stuff, all have context to it. And when you look through that lens of trying to see like, okay, who was this actually written to? What were their experiences, what they were going through, what the purpose is, it really redefines like how you view scripture and like how you read it.
It really is so amazing how so much of the New Testament and the Old Testament reflect each other. And that's something that I learned and that I was like amazed by, because you always take these stories in the Old Testament as like just the story of Moses, just the story of Jonah, and it's all like those key stories, right? And we take those as like individual, but it relates so much to the New Testament, and the New Testament refers back to the Old Testament and how it all just like coincides and like weaves together. I just have such. It's beautiful. It's beautiful when you understand it all. And I'm no scholar by all means, but this was a kind of fast track seminary level reading class or institute class. Yeah. And we took it from January all the way to, I don't know, what was it, like October or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was like 10 months or whatever every Wednesday. And we read so many books. I really appreciated that class. I loved learning about the history and why things were the way they were back then. And we can have a whole like 3-episode series on like everything that we learned, but it's like too much to say now. But and then that led me into wanting to grow deeper. Yeah. And so now currently I'm in what's called Word and Worship here at the church, and it's been a great class too to be a part of, because I think I was missing like community. I was not, I don't know, some people may know this. I've been a stay-at-home mom for like 6 years, ever since my first daughter was born, and I was missing out on community. And I just in the past year have found my place, or felt like I took that leap to like, you know what, I'm just going to put myself out there, join the class, make friends. And then the Institute class led me into Word and Worship, which is an all-women's study group. And we have been studying 1 Peter, James, and now we're in Colossians. And we're literally breaking it down verse by verse every single week. We have a study paragraph, a couple verses. We read those. We have questions. We have a workbook. And then we get together every week and we together and we talk about our answers and we open the dialogue. And I think it's so important to have like community. And
the community part of it is great too, because I'm in so they have like the main class, the main lecture class, and then y'all break down into smaller groups where y'all kind of discuss what the scriptures were, that y'all talked about in the class that day. Mm-hmm. But I have in one of my own discipleship classes, one of the ladies that you share in yours, Miss Billy Carroll, who is fantastic. But it's really great because it's community. But in a lot of these classes, since they're happening like during the week and stuff, there's a lot of like retirees and stuff like that, and that are in these classes. Like it makes up a lot of who's there. And so there's a lot of wisdom and insight that comes from people that are kind of past what our current age demographic is, like a whole generation ahead of us.
Right.
And there's a lot of wisdom, and like it's refreshing to be around people in another age demographic as well. Yeah,
I think we're learning from each other. Mm-hmm. And they've also, I'm kind of like the younger one in my group, which is great, but at the same time, like it's also like, I don't know, I don't have that much life experience, as you guys, but they've come up to me like it is refreshing too to have you in our group, because like you bring a new perspective and stuff, and it's just good all around. Like I love my study group. I love the women, and it's good to just challenge each other on ideas and like how we apply. We're learning about the Bible, but how do we apply principles that are in the Bible to day-to-day life now in modern society?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, like watching you going through these classes and stuff, because I think that's something that a lot of Christians, especially that are in our age group, we're like, we're parents with young kids. And then, we also, like I said, we're entrepreneurs as well. So we have our own businesses. And so we're always trying to balance between business, relationship, raising kids and stuff. And there's not a whole lot of extra time for study. And it's been really great seeing you in these classes because, you started off with Institute, and then there was like 2 other sets of classes you took in the fall, and then now Word and Worship. So just kind of seeing how you're growing in that has been awesome. And it's an opportunity we didn't get at a lot of churches we were at before now, because there really is something to be said for like being led by people in these classes who have so much like deep theological experience. Like, a lot of them are Lorian, who's leading that class, is like she's about to get her doctorate. And Clay, been through seminary and has been a teaching pastor for a long time. Lee is amazing. We have such cool people that have great insight teaching us this word and scripture.
I can literally listen to any of them just teach.
Yeah.
I want to learn. I'm such a sponge right now. I want to learn everything and anything. And it's so good to get like the meat and potatoes, like the theological history and like whys and the hows and the just everything.
Yeah.
I was missing that for such a long time and kind of losing my identity a little bit and falling into depression, falling into like day-to-day mundane things. And like what I came to a point where it's like, I don't have purpose. Like, what is my purpose? And I know that when I'm questioning myself in that sense, something is like needs to happen.
Yeah.
I need to start seeking God more. And that's just my personal preference. That's how I find myself again. He's my grounding, my stability. And so
I think it's been also great from a marriage perspective too, because it adds an extra layer of things that we talk about as a husband and wife, a married couple. It's really easy, like especially day-to-day life, things can get mundane and stuff, and sometimes it can feel like there's not a whole lot of new things to talk about. Like, what's been going on with you? Same old thing, watching these kids. Or like, what's going on with you? Oh, job, meetings, things like that. And like things can get kind of stale, but it's added an extra level to our conversation because now we're getting to talk about deep biblical things, which has been really cool. So like, well, what have you been learning? And you get to share more than me. So I get to listen, and then I get to try to like chime in conversation and stuff. But it's also been great for like conversation in our marriage.
Yeah, totally.
So you did a lot of theological training and stuff over the summer and going into fall and stuff in your classes. I have just been busy at work for the most part. I mean, my gosh, I feel like I was kind of a workaholic over the summer and fall and trying to learn to take a break a little bit more. But where I'm at now work-wise because of that is like so much better, like the direction and stuff that I see my day job going. And then on the freelance side of things, Servant's Heart Media.
Yeah, share a little bit about, for our new people, like what that is. I think we mentioned it before.
I think we talked a little bit about it.
Because that was something that we developed last January.
Yeah.
Was the concept.
Yes.
And we're very passionate about it. But you go ahead and share what it is.
So, I've been doing video production stuff since essentially 2018 when I first got into cameras and whatnot, photo and video stuff. And it took me a while to kind of like find out what part of the industry I wanted to be in, what was my niche and stuff. And because of my work at my day job, where I get to talk to so many of our church's ministry partners and creating like videos around that for nonprofits, I realized that was something that I was really good at and something that I was very passionate about. So through that, I started a new company called Servant's Heart Media. So Servant's Heart Media is a video production company that the clientele is specifically nonprofits and 501c3s.
Yeah.
So the thought behind it is, if you're trying to hire a filmmaker for like a sports commercial, you get the sports commercial videographer guy. If you're trying to shoot a wedding, you get the wedding filmmaker. Right. Well, if you're a nonprofit and you're trying to create a storytelling video for like your fundraising season or just general content for social media, come to Servant's Heart Media. That's what we exist for. So really passionate about doing the best we can for telling the stories of these nonprofits in a compelling way that inspires people to want to partner with them. That's the whole passion and vision behind
You
it.
do it so well too. Like you're so talented, and I think it's because you're so passionate about it. Like you can tell, like because you're passionate and you love that, it shows in your work.
It's so
Every
rewarding.
video that you have made has made me cry.
That's the mark how I know I did a good job.
You just capture like the best content, and you ask the right questions, and you get to the heart of like why they have the nonprofit and like where it started and who they are and why they're doing it. And I love just hearing stories like that. I love hearing people making an impact, and we have the opportunity to like film it and share it.
I mean, it's my favorite part of what I get to do is like telling these stories, just because it is so rewarding. Because it's not just selling a product, or it's not just selling like some kind of commercial service, but it's telling the story of these people who are so passionate and dedicated about whatever their specific area of service or ministry is, because all of these people, they're trying to serve other people in some way or another. They're trying to help people, and it's not just like commercially selling some kind of product. And so the heart behind all those stories are so amazing that to me, it's a privilege just to be able to tell it. So I get to sit down and have these long interviews with people, and it kind of feels very similar to like a podcast, only I'm behind the camera instead of like behind a microphone. So I enjoy it so much, and I got some good momentum last year, and I thought I was going to take a little bit of a break beginning in this year. And as soon as I said that, I started having people like hitting me up very beginning of the year. And so I'm just trying to do my best on like trying to balance family life, trying to balance regular work life, but then going, okay, if this is something that I'm meant to do, I'm trying to respond to, okay, God, if I'm saying like I'm going to take a step back, and then you're saying, well, how about these clients right here? I'm like, okay, well, if you want me to keep working with people, I'm going to keep taking people and then do my best to balance everything out. So that's my biggest challenge from the fall, even going into now, is just balance.
Like speaking of that, I want to share some of the struggles that we've had, balancing the work life, hustle, entrepreneur, your purpose, like balancing all of that together. Because, I also have been busy. Not too many people know, but I do homeschool our daughter. And that was a decision made last August, I guess. And that's been
Oh my gosh.
That's been a lot of work, but like something about it is so fulfilling, and being able to spend so much time with my daughter as she's growing up. She's going to remember this part of her life as me like getting closer together, and like she was kind of, the concern came when she was like, Mommy, when do we ever spend time together? Because I worked on weekends. She was at her previous school during the week, and I'm like, you know what, this is important to me.
And well, for context, I kind of want to go even deeper into that, because I mean, it wasn't just like a simple question. It was a whole personality shift that we saw.
It was, yeah.
So I mean, like we just said, spring going into summer, we were hustling things really hard. We were very busy. You were working still very much in the wedding industry as well, while I was doing Servant's Heart Media. And it felt like almost every single weekend we were, felt like we were bringing the girls to like a grandparent's house.
Dropping them off.
And like it was a thing that we had done for a very long time, especially when they were younger. And they were always excited to go hang out with the grandparents because we were with them during the week. And then on the weekends, we would have gigs and stuff. So it's like, all right, Willis, this week you're going to go to Nana's house. This week you're going to go to Gigi's house. And they were excited. But then we were starting to see a change in our 5-year-old. And she almost turning 6. And when we would go to drop her off, she would just seem really sad.
Yeah.
And even during the weekend stuff, she would seem a little bit sad. And she started asking us, she said, well, when are we going to do family time? When are we going to do family time?
She's very aware.
I'd never met a 6-year-old who seemed like depressed. And that really struck a chord in both of us.
Right.
And so when it was time to register for a fall semester, we ended up deciding, hey, you were gonna homeschool her for the fall. So the younger one was still gonna go to preschool, but the now 6-year-old was gonna be homeschooled. And I gotta say, like, as soon as she started homeschooling with you, spending more time with you, reconnecting with you, bonding with you, her whole little personality snapped back from depression into just being such a happy, joyful, playful little kid again. And so much of that had to do with your decision to, all right, I'm going to invest my time into my child,
Right.
And building that relationship back.
Yeah, it was important. It's important because, one, we're never going to get these years back. Two, I could not ever let my kid get depressed because I'm not spending time with her. And it's not because I didn't want to. It's because of the lifestyle. It's because of the hustle and the career path that I chose. And when I chose to homeschool, it was, yes, this is important. I'm going to do this. I'm willing to sacrifice. And I was blessed to have that opportunity too, with your support and also with, grandparent support and stuff, because it is a hard decision. I have worked corporate before, so, and I do have like very strong work ethic. So stepping back in homeschooling was it was really scary because nobody's paying me to do it. Nobody's paying me to homeschool. But also too, it's 24/7. Like it's waking up together, breakfast, schooling, taking out to the parks, and then it was a lot at first. And
it was a big sacrifice for you as well, because to me it seemed very similar to like almost like when you have a new baby and you are kind of at the house or you're with this tiny human 100% of the time, and you're not doing a lot of other things. You're not doing like a daily career and stuff. You're not having there's opportunities for socializing and stuff in homeschool. And of course, like there's lots of great homeschool networks and stuff, but you're not always at those events and stuff. So there's a majority of time that you are always with this tiny person. And as amazing as that sounds, it's also a sacrifice too. So I definitely commend you very much on the sacrifice that you're making for our family and for our daughter in doing that. And I know that your relationship with her has grown so much stronger and so much more unified, but that still comes with a toll on, the socialization part for you and what you get to do. And we've had conversations about that on, okay, what you need from me now and what you need from, being able to go and have dinner with your friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do other things
I'm like,
to get
I
out of
need
the house.
adult friends.
I have a joke that I always tell. I always tell new parents, especially when I tell this to new dads, specifically new dads, is I say like, you guys are always looking at your wife who's a stay-at-home mom with the baby for the time being, and that seems like it's a relaxing thing. But what you don't realize is that she feels like a prisoner with a tiny jailer, a tiny warden.
Yeah.
But you can't get out in the same way that you can for other people. So. And, it's not really a prison or anything, but there is a part of it that feels like I'm always at home. I'm always here.
Yeah.
And I need to get out and do more things.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I started doing the classes and stuff, because it also gave me an excuse to get out. But if I was going to sacrifice time away from the family, I wanted to be valuable. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to waste it. So I wanted to do that with my time, if I'm going to take time away, I want to, like I said, I was kind of losing myself in the whole day-to-day things and stuff like that. So I needed to recharge that way and, kind of get my grounding again. But homeschool's going great. She loves it. And at first we were doing so many field trips, and I've met some really, really great moms, and there's actually a really big homeschool network in Houston.
Houston has a huge homeschool network.
Yeah, crazy. But just also researching that industry, that kind of industry, homeschooling and stuff, it's a whole different world, and it's exciting because we get to learn outside the home. We get to go and have science projects. Also, all the museums are discounted because we're homeschool, and we get a lot of like perks and stuff, even at Chuck E. Cheese for free. Homeschools Tuesdays, homeschoolers get in free, but there's like a lot of perks and stuff, and so we've created a lot of like memories so far, and she's learned how to read. Like that was a big thing too, because I want to share with them too. That was obviously one reason why we homeschooled, but we also homeschooled because, she was diagnosed ADHD, and so researching that. I just felt personally as a parent that was just the best decision because she got one-on-one time. And the way my daughter learns is through repetitiveness and not like skimming over a subject and going on to the next. Like she needs to study it multiple times to understand it, comprehend it, learn it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be engaging. Hands-on, games-oriented, And
it's very different than the way that traditional schools like do teaching.
So that was just personally the decision that we decided to do for her, and she's thriving. I mean, the best thing about it is that we get to go at her own pace. There's no like strict government requirements in Texas. Like, you were homeschooled too, so it's just all you need to do at her age is teach her the syllables, how to read, 2 + 2. And it seems intimidating at first. I'm no certified teacher. I didn't go to school for teaching, but I can teach you 2 + 2, so.
We could teach the basics.
It's been fun. And like I said, we've hooked up with some moms and their kids, and we learn from each other. So
yeah,
we have the support. I have support in that sense, and it's been going good. I'm not saying it's peachy all the time. Some days it's really like, okay, just go do your Hooked on Phonics, lesson, and I'm just gonna like chill for a minute, because everybody has bad days.
Sure.
We need times away and breaks and stuff, but for the most part, it's been great, and we're so close. And
you guys are so close. Like y'all are. She is obsessed with you.
That's the most important thing. I know I am too. Like I'm like I miss my baby. Where is she at? But and I get the question like, oh, are you gonna homeschool both daughters? And I'm like, oh, let me think about that because obviously
I know the younger one thinks like she wants to be homeschooled too now.
I know 2 different grade levels and stuff, but I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. It's really much more of a like I need to like just assess it when it comes. We'll cross that bridge kind of like when we get to it thing. But yeah, it's been great.
So in addition to finding out that our daughter has ADHD and we kind of have to work with her on like a learning style that works for her, you also had your own diagnosis as well.
I did. Because learning about her and researching it and the symptoms and just everything that shows up with it, you even mentioned too, you're like, I think you need to get checked.
Well, because I was the first one who got, and I always knew that I had it. Like I grew up my whole life knowing that I had ADHD, but I didn't have the H part. I didn't have the hyperactivity. So when I was a kid, I was never treated. But I still knew that I had like attention deficit. I just had other coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
So it was in the fall of 2023 that I actually went and got checked out, and I got diagnosed officially because I was doing way too many energy drinks to concentrate. My doctor was like, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
So it was better to be on medication. But once I got the official diagnosis, I started learning everything that I could about it because I wanted to understand how my own brain operated, how it was different than how other people kind of think and acted and learned and stuff. And that was so helpful for me. So having that insight, we identified it in our daughter.
Right.
But then after that, with you had your own situations, your own challenges that you were facing. And in seeing what those circumstances and habits and stuff were, I was like, maybe you should get checked out as well, just to see, like, if you potentially have ADHD, if there's something the doctor can do for helping you.
Yeah. So I ended up getting surveyed, by our doctor. And, we've been going to her family doctor for the past 5 years or so, plus years. So she knows our personality. She knows us personally, whatever. And so after we took the questionnaire, it was like kind of like the questions were like a sentence, and it's like rarely, often, sometimes, really often, all the time, those kind of answers. Yeah. And it was like, do you lose your keys? Do you have trouble this? Do you zone out in conversation? Do you fidget? Do you do that? And I'm like, often, all the time, all the time. So when I gave it back to her, she's like, yeah, obviously, yeah, you definitely have it. But just aside from the questionnaire, she's like, knowing you personally and just talking to you and getting to know you, I could see the signs. It just never had come up.
Yeah. And this could be a whole, another podcast in the future by itself, because it's interesting how ADHD can present differently in women versus men.
I would love to talk about that.
Totally.
Because since I've been diagnosed and I've spoke to many other people, like other women, they're like, oh, I have that symptom. That happens to me. That happens to me. I'm like, girl, get checked. Because let me tell you, getting diagnosed and learning more about my brain has helped me function so much better. So yeah, we could expand on a whole podcast. Yeah,
and unfortunately there's a stigma that comes with like getting diagnosed with ADHD and getting on a medication because people are like, oh, they're just medicating kids these days, and that's kind of the stigma where people it's a misunderstanding of it, and it sounds like a crutch. But I found that you said something similar that I said. You said the same statement as me when I first started getting medicated for it, where I said, I feel like I have a brand new brain.
Yeah.
And that is a real feeling of like, I did not know that my mind could work this. Is this how other people think? Is that how other people?
Is this normal?
People who have their lives together, is this how they get to do things?
It was like day and night. Like as soon as I took my medication, I was like limitless. like that movie Limitless. I could do all things. I could multitask. And I thought I was a multitasker before, which I was a multitasker.
But now you were a multitasker who knew where her keys were.
Yeah. So I was a multitasker, but I could get the tasks done now. I was a multitasker before and never could get it done.
A multi-starter.
Multi-starter, exactly.
Multi-completer.
Multi-starter, and I could follow through now. And I could focus, and I'm more engaged in conversation. I'm not thinking of 50 other million things.
And that's also a really good segue into where we are now. Because now that we've kind of been through this journey, we've had a lot of discipleship, training, self-discovery, time management, which brings us to where we are now, saying, hey, now it's time where let's start up another season of this podcast, because we've done a little bit better at balancing our time, balancing our lives, and figuring out how we can make all these things fit together.
Exactly.
And so when we started talking about getting this podcast rolling, we started bouncing ideas off of one another, and we landed on we don't want to just have conversations with just you and I, but all these people who have impacted our lives in the last year. We're like, wow, we want to get some people on the podcast to talk to them, just to kind of talk through some of the things that we've been experiencing and learning, and kind of sharing that with everyone.
Yeah. So we plan on having a range of people come on, from mom and dads, from entrepreneurs, new parents, marriage counselors, like everybody, ministry leaders, outreach people, just a whole plethora of different people with experiences we can all learn from or relate to. And
you and I still don't have degrees. Some of these people will have degrees.
Well,
but we are gaining our experience off of them and these conversations.
Well, and that's the whole point. No degree, just experience. And your experience could be learning from people with degrees. So
that's what our experience
which
is now.
I'm really excited, and that kind of brings me to our next episode. I'm excited to share that we'll be having a special guest on, a business boss lady, woman that I've known personally. She inspires me. She motivates me. And I think, too, she's been part of that fire, that entrepreneur, that she's been lighting that inside of me too. So we're going to have her on, and she's going to share her story, how she started, where she's at now. And she has no degree.
No degree, but she is excelling in her industry.
Yeah, she's
just
excelling.
based off of her experience and her hustle and her drive. And so I'm real excited to talk to her as well and kind of get some advice from her on just like how to continue advancing on the career side of things.
Right. Yeah. So with that said, we are going to be on it this time. Okay.
We're committed.
Because learning what we know now is probably our ADHD, why it fell off. But anyway, yeah, so this season, this year, we're going to be more consistent. We're going to have so many cool people on. We have ideas for it. And we would love for y'all to just join in on the wave and ride with us. And hopefully you'll be inspired by who we bring on, our topics. You'll be motivated. You'll feel seen. Yeah.
I'm really excited for it. We have a lot of cool people, and I'm just excited to kind of talk to these people and introduce them to you guys as well, so y'all can kind of glean that same wisdom and stuff that we've been able to for the last year.
Yeah.
Yep. So please join us next week again for another episode of No Degree, Just Experience with our guest who does not have a degree but has so much experience.
She's very inspiring, I'll tell you that. And she's super cool. Can't wait.
Can't wait. All right. See you guys next week.